So I'll go through these, I guess, relatively quickly. And okay, number one. I'm just all over the place. I got too many thoughts coming out here.
I know, I can tell.
Scott's
If you
laughing
guys
at me
could
here.
see, Shane's like his eyes are spinning around his head like he's got like 80
Oh, my
checkpoints in his
goodness.
brain that he's focusing on.
As you can see, I have
and he's
my,
looking down
my,
at
note,
his,
my
his
notepad
notes.
here. I've got like 10 pages of notes here.
And here I am over here with my notes digitally.
He's
So
got his-
I'm
he
waiting
got
for an
his-
EMP to happen
his
to
phone.
just wipe everything out.
And I've got my trusty
Notebook.
notebook here, which I take with me everywhere. It's my journal, I guess you would call it, as well as my show notes to pass on to my kids.
Ooh.
Anyway, so number one, so in concealing yourself, like Scott's saying, there are a lot of advantages to not being noticed.
Mm-hmm.
I've noticed that throughout my life. I've been relatively unnoticed, and the first girl who noticed me, I married her. So
Good job.
I'm good at this. So I know what I'm talking about here, right? So, okay, shape. You think about the human form, that's easily recognizable, right? Oh,
Yep.
When you're in the wilderness, whether you're in the city, whatever, the shape of a person standing there is immediately recognized, right? Excuse me. So, and even, a human shape holding a rifle. I mean, that's something that your eyes just catch immediately,
Yep.
right?
So being able to break that shape up.
Break
that's
that
part
shape
of
up, exactly.
camouflage, right?
Lines, in particular, lines. And that's, we won't get into the particular details. We just don't have the time. But these are the things you need to be aware of when you want to stay concealed.
Okay.
So first of all, shape. Flat, round, two-dimensional, three-dimensional, different lines to break up.
Bold patterns. Like the problem is like a lot of us will wear like big giant logos on things, right? And big bold patterns. It's like for concealment purposes, you don't want all that because the less of that you have, and the easier it is for you to not be seen.
And that's where like a ghillie suit really comes in. Well, I got a call here. Let's go ahead and take this. Well, you're live here on Prepper Talk Radio. You have a question or comment for us?
Yeah, I just want to, and earlier in the show you were talking about things happening right now as far as the things collapsing and things going on right now.
Absolutely.
Yeah, I just want to comment on that.
Please do.
Yeah, go ahead.
Sure.
Oh, yeah, so basically I've been hearing that since the 70s, and so people will say, well, nothing's happened. And, not on a major scale, certainly it hasn't happened, maybe on just certain small areas of natural disasters and things. But I think one of the things is people say, well, it didn't happen, because I think a lot of times people, what they did was they took heed and they prepared. And then when they prepared for something, then, the disaster didn't happen because people were prepared. And I think the biggest thing in my lifetime that I recall was 2000, when nothing happened, when the computers changed over, et cetera, when they changed.
Yeah, the old Y2K scare.
People prepared. I mean, companies spent billions and governments spent billions of dollars upgrading their computers, so nothing happened. So, people say, well, you were wrong because nothing happened. I said, well, it doesn't mean that people were wrong about something happened. It's just that people took heed and they took the advice, and so nothing happened because they took the advice.
Yes, they took the measures needed to fix it before it became a bigger problem.
That's
and
a great point.
reduce the impact, right? I think that's a brilliant point. I mean, in my own life, like I've had financial woes, and I've reduced the impact of that by having an emergency fund, like by having food storage. And I think that applies not just to our households, but also to our cities, our states, to federal and international. Like there's so many ways those same principles and practices can be applied, so that when we do see an identifiable crisis, we can avoid it or avert it by taking the proper steps.
And I think that's why a lot of people do not continue to prep today, because they have prepped in the past. Nothing happened. I'm not going to waste my time with that again, right?
Well, plus they come out with new stuff all the time. It's like, so what do I do with this old stuff? And, and that's just kind of the way it is. It's like people say, well, I want one gun. I want to buy one gun. That's all I want to do. And it's like, well, good luck, because each tool has its own purpose.
Yep.
So it depends on what you're using it for.
Yeah, and that's also one of the reasons why I say look to the past to prepare for the future. Using that older school kind of technology tends to outlast newer developments. I guess.
Well,
newer
and it's also the mindset
technology.
of the older days where
Mindset as well.
you don't need as much You simplify.
Yeah, absolutely. Did you have any other comments for us?
Yeah, I just wanted to say too. There's been times that I've, might have overspent or something, and that silver came in handy to trade in and pay off my debt.
Yep. Be your own
Amen.
bank. Be your own bank. Absolutely. There's no reason to put your money with someone else when you can be your own bank. Thanks for the call. Great comments. Sure appreciate it.
Thank you.
All right, you bet. All right, cool. Okay, back to camouflage.
Number 2.
We're running out of time here quick, so where's my list here? Number 2, shine.
Yep.
So to be aware of shine, reflection, or you may also call it surface. Be aware of what the surface is.
Well, so human skin's very oily, right? And in pressure situations, the oil surface, the sweat glands get going. So you need to be able to reduce that as much as possible.
Yeah, and that can be done with, think of something even like something may be black, but if it's glossy, there's your shine, there's your surface that's going to make you stand out. So, things that are matte, satin finish, even a mesh, having a mesh of some sort to cover you or whatever you're trying to conceal. And that's why, the military puts face paint on.
Yep.
Not just to break up the lines of their face and the shape and the silhouette of their face,
Break
but
up the
also
lines to
the
flatten
shine
and
as
to
well.
remove the shine.
Exactly. All right, number 3, shadow.
Yeah.
Shadow. We not only need to be aware of them, but we need to use shadow as well to our advantage. Exactly like the ninjas live in the shadows, and especially
see, the
at a
problem with
distance.
ninjas is you never see them,
That is a problem,
and that's the point, right? They hide in the shadows.
and I think kind of part of our discussion earlier is that most everyone I think is trying to stand out. That's what social media is about. We're trying to stand out, whereas
They want to feel special.
Yeah. I mean, who doesn't want to feel that way?
Right.
I mean, feel that they're needed and feel like they're noticed.
And if we're bonding,
Mhm.
we feel needed and we feel special.
And if you feel noticed on social media, then okay, that counts, right?
In a way, and it's a false sense of connection because you're not there. Like there's something to be said for human touch. It is one of the most powerful things. Like you cannot get through a crisis online as easily as you can in real person. When someone gives you a hug, instead of sending you a text that says hugs and kisses, prayers,
XOXO.
right? When you get that physical hug, like that is so powerful,
Yeah,
and we need more of that.
Now, with shadow also goes just observing light. Observing light, where you're casting shadows, like when you walk up on a river to fish. You don't want to cast your shadow into the edge of the river where the fish may be right into the bank and scared away. So just being aware of shadows and light and then staying low so you're not casting shadows. Number 4, silhouette, kind of goes along with shape.
Goes with
as
shape,
well.
but it's specifically our silhouette is very recognizable, identifiable. It's funny because I think what's the world record is a lady could see a friend a mile away and recognize which friend it was.
Oh, really?
Yeah, Guinness Book of World Records. Incredible.
that
I'm
out.
like, how did this lady do that?
It was through the silhouette and shape of.
It was a silhouette and shape.
that
Like she could recognize who it was.
Yeah. Now, also that has to do with, like, if you're a photographer, you notice backgrounds, right? You don't want to be backlit in many situations. So it has to do with your background, the backlight, matching your surroundings, and not only when you're trying to hide yourself, but when you're looking for others as well in those types of environments. These things should be on the tip of your mind, thinking, okay, I'm looking for a shadow, I'm looking for shape, I'm looking for silhouette, shine, reflection, so forth. And of course, for me, a big one, the next one is really big, sound. Because I wear glasses, right? My eyesight is not the greatest. With glasses, it's good. But I think that has made my ears more attuned. So, and I've mentioned on other shows that when I'm in the mountains, when I'm listening a lot more than anything, I'm listening for potential dangers, rockfall for one of them. And so sound, of footsteps, and it takes training,
Branch
it takes
snapping
practice.
from a footstep.
Exactly.
You can hear other people breathing. Like I always laugh when I watch a movie and someone's hiding in a closet and they're panicking and they're breathing hard, and the guy walks in the room and looks around, doesn't see anybody, and walks out. And I'm like, use your ears. Sound travels. We don't pay attention to a lot because we get so distracted. And I think if we would take some time and really listen, and the other one, the next one, smell.
Well, actually, I just wanted to continue with sound real quick. Is we set watching posts, right? When you're trying to protect your compound, you protect your home, whatever. You don't want the fight to happen at your house. You want it to happen further out. So you've got watching posts, but you also have listening posts.
Yep.
And at night, it turns from a watching post into a listening post, unless you, of course, you have some night vision, which would be fantastic on my long list. But listening posts.
Definitely not a minimalist thing to get.
No, that's absolutely right. And definitely not a minimalist thing to have the night vision, but to be able to use your ears. Absolutely, that's a minimalist. That's a skill. And to be able to recognize the different sounds of a tinkle of a gear moving here, or of the shuffle of pants, or whatever it might be. That is a sound that's a skill that really takes some practice. And the more time you spend in the outdoors, the more acute your ears are going to be to, oh, I know what that is. I know what that is. Oh, I don't recognize that sound. That's a danger, right? Mm-hmm. So sound is a big, and of course, covering up your sound.
Yes.
When you're moving, being aware of your sound as you move.
Well, it's funny how loud we walk.
Yes.
And one of the things is women wear heels. Those are so freaking loud. Moccasins. We used to wear moccasins. Mm-hmm. The mountain men used to wear leather moccasin wrap boots, right? Mm-hmm. Like, they wanted to be quiet. Because they had to hunt up close to the animals, right, that they had to kill. But also, they don't want people to sneak up on you. You want to be able to move quickly and out of the way and leave no tracks. And so, sound, silhouette, like all those things come into play. And moccasins, I think, is one of the most perfect foot coverings.
But also, like you say, smell should be a part of that as well,
that's the other sense that I want to go into.
I don't have a great nose, and most guys probably don't.
And smell can give away a lot. Mm-hmm. We can smell something cooking up to a mile away, or almost a mile away, depending on the winds. But in Tim's book, he actually talks about that, like how smell travels really well. And that's, as humans, we can't track somebody by smell. A dog can, but we can track somebody by a roast beef cooking, right? That's where our skill sets kind of are lacking.
And just think of how often a smell brings back a memory.
Mm-hmm.
I'll be an early morning sunrise, and it's all cool and dewy, and it'll take me back to another point in my life where, like, I remember that just because of the smell. It's pretty amazing. Okay, next two are speed and surroundings. So speed and how we move, whether it's jerky, whether it's smooth, fast or slow. Obviously, snipers, they move slowly, right? They're crawling down slow. They're down low, and they're moving slow. And I think the big part about the speed that stands out to me is staying still.
Yes.
You think about Bambi, for example. If she only would have stayed down laying down, the mother, she would still be alive today. If the hunter would have walked right by, and
we wouldn't have the story
we wouldn't have the
that
stupid, sad story. Bambi's mother would still be alive. Anyway, speed and staying still. I think more than anything, that's what stood out to me, this principle of speed. And then, of course, surroundings. Being aware of how you're affecting the surroundings around you. Animals, for example, like squirrels. They'll start chirping, right? Because it's their warning sign.
They hear you, they see you, they let everybody else know that you're there.
Exactly. And then, your surroundings also of you creating a path while you're moving. And that's difficult. That takes a lot of time and practice to learn how to avoid creating a path, to move through a wooded area without disturbing.
Or an urban area. Some areas it's just hard to not leave tracks.
You forget about the urban area and that you can leave your a path behind. Mm-hmm. So we're just waiting for this. We're at the top of our hour here at 4:00. Waiting for the next thing to kick in here, so we'll just keep going until this kicks on here. But you're listening to Prepper Talk Radio. Shane here and Scott here on KTalk.
I just feel like you went into like this Bob Ross, like, hey, we're just make a little happy little tree over here.
I'm just wondering what's going on here because we don't know what's going on with our programming here on the computer, and technically our hour is up.
You're
there
listening
we go.
To the all.
I knew that would happen. I knew it would just come right back on. And there's our music. So thanks for joining us here on Prepper Talk Radio. We'll be back again next week. Follow us on Facebook, Instagram. I think that's the only two places we are. We'd love to connect with you. Thanks, guys.
Weeks in prison for lying to the FBI about his contact with individuals tied to Russia during the 2016 campaign. Papadopoulos' attorney, Thomas Breen, believes the sentence sends a message.
I think it is really stupid to lie to the FBI, especially when you don't need to speak to them.
So I think most people who would read about this sentence would begin to educate themselves that they don't want to do 14 days because they lied to the FBI.
Former President